The Galactic Council chamber was the heart of the galaxy's politics, a place where alien voices had ruled for centuries. The room was vast, filled with representatives from countless species, each sitting in their towering seats of power, glowing. Lights hovered around the ceiling, and the air buzzed with the whispers of translators working in real time. For centuries, no one had ever dared to stand against the Council. They were the law, the judges, and the rulers of all known space, but on this day, silence was broken by the voice of a human. Commander Ethan Carter walked into the chamber with steady steps, his eyes sharp, his jaw set. He was not alone. At his side stood Admiral Laura Price, a woman known for her discipline and iron resolve. Behind them was a small Terran delegation, not many compared to the hundreds of alien representatives. But their presence carried weight. Whispers spread through the chamber as the humans reached the center platform. Humans were still considered young in the galactic scale, a species that had only recently joined the stars. But the look in their eyes said something had changed. The Supreme Chancellor of the Council, a tall alien with silver skin and multiple eyes, raised his voice. "Why have you come here, Terrans? Do you think your place is among the rulers of the stars?" His tone was filled with disdain, expecting the humans to shrink under his gaze. But Ethan did not flinch. Instead, he pressed a control on his wrist pad, and the air shimmered with a giant holographic projection. The chamber gasped. Thousands of alien leaders turned their heads to watch as the images unfolded. The hologram showed secret documents, recordings, and evidence. Council ships firing on neutral colonies, hidden fleets attacking planets while the Council pretended to maintain peace. Worlds burned while the Council grew richer. Alien leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Claws clicked, wings twitched, and tendrils coiled. Their secrets were being revealed for the first time. Admiral Laura Price stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp as steel. For centuries, the Council has pretended to be guardians of the galaxy. But in truth, you have been the greatest threat to peace. You staged wars, destroyed colonies, and kept species divided so that you could remain in control. You lied to every world, you lied to us. But now the truth is open for all to see. Her words echoed like thunder in the chamber. The aliens erupted into noise. Some shouted accusations. Some denied the evidence, others called for silence. The chamber became chaos. But Ethan raised his hand, his voice cutting through the storm. Enough, humanity will not bow anymore. You can no longer rule by lies and fear. We have seen the truth, and we are ready to stand against you. His words silenced the room, not because of their volume, but because of the weight behind them. Every eye in the chamber turned to the humans, once seen as weak, now standing tall. Ethan pressed another command, and new holograms filled the air, this time showing something far more terrifying. Human warships, massive dreadnoughts, carriers and cruisers sleek and powerful, lined up in hidden sectors, their weapons glowing like the eyes of predators ready to strike. Gasps filled the chamber. The Council had known humans were advancing, but no one had expected this. Admiral Price spoke again, her tone steady. "We are not asking for permission, we are declaring our freedom. Humanity will no longer serve the Council's lies. We have built our fleets, we have forged our weapons, and we will defend ourselves against anyone who tries to chain us again." Her words left no room for argument. The silence that followed was heavy. Some aliens trembled with fear, others clenched their claws in anger. But deep within the chamber, the truth had already spread. The humans had shattered the illusion of the Council's control. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy was faced with something new. A species that would not kneel. Ethan's gaze swept across the chamber, meeting the eyes of every alien leader. "You believed humanity would remain quiet. You believed we were too young to fight, but you were wrong. We are not children of the stars. We are the storm that will change them." His words burned into every mind present. The Council, once untouchable, now felt its foundation crack. The chamber that had always been filled with arrogance and power now felt uncertain. Fear was spreading, and at the center of it all stood the humans, small in number but powerful in spirit. They had spoken the words no one dared to speak. They had broken the silence of the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again. The moment Ethan Carter's words ended, The chamber exploded into chaos. Voices of 100 different species rose together. Claws banged against tables, wings flapped, and sharp teeth flashed as alien leaders shouted in anger and disbelief. Never before had anyone dared to speak against the Galactic Council, and now a small group of humans had not only spoken but had declared their freedom. Some alien leaders screamed for war, their voices sharp and filled with fury. Others tried to shout down the humans, calling them liars. A few whispered nervously to each other, shaken by the evidence the Terrans had shown. The sound grew louder and louder until the chamber felt like it would collapse under the noise. But then Admiral Laura Price stepped forward, her uniform glowing under the chamber lights. Her expression calm yet unbreakable. She raised her hand and spoke with a voice that cut through the storm like a blade. "Listen," she said, her tone steady but firm. "You can scream all you want, but the truth cannot be buried again. Humanity is free now. We will not bow to your lies. We will not kneel to your corruption. The Council has ruled through fear for too long, but your fear does not work on us anymore." The chamber froze. The aliens turned their eyes to her, some with rage, some with curiosity. The humans had never spoken with such confidence before. They had always been quiet, always cautious, but now their words were sharp, their stance unshakable, and their presence demanded attention. Ethan pressed a button on his console. The air shimmered again with a new hologram. This time it showed a map of the galaxy. Lines of light spread across the stars, marking sectors, systems, and hidden regions. In each region, glowing icons of human warships appeared. Fleets that had been hidden away from the Council's eyes. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek cruisers, swarms of fighters. The sight left many aliens stunned. "You thought of us as weak," Ethan said, his voice steady. "You believed we were children playing in the dark. But while you watched, while you mocked, we built, we grew, we prepared. We have fleets the Council has never seen, weapons you cannot imagine, and tactics you cannot predict. If you strike us, we will strike back. If you move against us, we will not hide. We will fight, and we will win." Gasps spread through the chamber. Some alien representatives shook, their heads in disbelief. Others exchanged nervous glances. Whispers rose again. Not all were angry now. Some were afraid, because deep inside they knew the humans were not lying. Admiral Price pointed to the map, her finger sliding across the stars. "These are our ships. These are our soldiers. These are our worlds. We are not asking for permission to be free. We are declaring it. Today is the day humanity stands on its own, and we will fight anyone who dares to chain us again." Her words carried the weight of thunder. They echoed off the tall walls of the chamber, sinking deep into the minds of every alien present. A few of the smaller species lowered their eyes, already realizing the tide of power was shifting. The Supreme Chancellor slammed his clawed hand against the desk, his many eyes flashing with fury. "You dare to threaten the Council?" he roared. "You think your small fleets can stand against the united might of the galaxy?" His voice was strong, but there was a tremor in it, a sign of the fear beginning to creep through his arrogance. Ethan did not flinch, his gaze locked with the Chancellor's. "We do not need to threaten. The truth is already here. Your lies are broken, your control is fading, and the galaxy is watching. You will not stand united, because others will see what we see, that the Council is nothing but chains and shadows, and humanity has shattered them." The chamber once again fell into silence, but this silence was heavier, deeper, the kind that comes before storms. No one dared to speak for a moment. They could see the humans were not bluffing. They were ready. They were willing to fight, and their fleets were proof of it. Admiral Price leaned closer, her eyes hard as steel. "We are not your servants. We are not your pawns. We are free. Remember this day, because it is the day humanity stepped out of your shadow. The day we stopped bowing and started standing. The day the galaxy changed." The silence lingered, broken only by the quiet hum of the holograms. Every alien representative in the chamber knew the truth. Whether they admitted it or not, the humans had declared something that could not be taken back. Humanity had spoken not just for themselves, but for every world that had ever felt the Council's chains. Somewhere in the farthest rows, a small alien leader whispered to another. Perhaps, and with those words the chamber shook, not from noise but from the weight of history humanity had spoken. The council had been challenged, and the stars themselves seemed to wait for what would happen next. The council was furious. The silence after the human declaration did not last long, and soon alien leaders roared for action. They could not allow one species to break their rule and inspire others. If humans were left free, then every world enslaved by fear would rise. The council decided in secret that humanity must be crushed. Quickly, fleets were dispatched from their nearest strongholds. Thousands of warships moved across the stars. Their orders simple: attack the Terran colonies and burn them until Earth begged for mercy. But mercy was something humans no longer needed. At the edge of Terran space, the first battles began. Massive alien cruisers warped into human sectors, their hulls gleaming with strange metals, weapons glowing with deadly energy. They were confident. For centuries they had fought and won against every rebellion. They thought the Terrans would be no different. They expected screams, surrender, and fire. Instead, they were met with something they had never faced before. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood aboard the bridge of the TNS Resolute, his crew tense but ready. He had known this day would come. Alarms blared across the ship as sensors detected the incoming fleet. Hundreds of alien warships breaking into the system, their formation tight, their numbers overwhelming. The officers on the bridge glanced at him nervously, waiting for orders. Ryan's voice was steady, calm but strong. Signal the fleet. Hold formation. Let them come. The alien commander hailed the humans, his many eyes glowing with arrogance. Terrans, you have defied the council. Surrender now, or your world will burn. His voice echoed with laughter. He thought victory was already his. Ryan leaned forward, his reply simple. You came all this way, now let's see if you can back those words. And with a single command, the battle began. Human warships surged forward, sleek and sharp, their engines burning bright. Alien ships opened fire, lances of energy cutting through space. Explosions rocked the void, but the Terran fleet moved with a speed and coordination the council had never seen. Human tactics were unpredictable. Their ships darted between blasts, using formations that changed constantly. One moment they appeared to retreat. The next, they closed in with a fury that tore through enemy lines. The Resolute's cannons fired, beams of pure energy smashing into an alien cruiser. The hull cracked and burned before it exploded in silence. The crew of the Resolute cheered, their fear turning into fire. For the first time in history, the galaxy's most feared fleets were breaking before humanity's strength. Alien warships pressed harder, trying to overwhelm by numbers, but human captains worked together like pieces on a board, each ship covering the other, each maneuver carefully planned. Ryan's voice never shook as he gave orders. Bring the Vanguard forward, cut across their left flank. Liberty, hold position and draw their fire. Fighters, break into their rear line, hit their carriers. His commands turned the chaos of battle into a deadly rhythm. All across Terran space, battles erupted. Colonies once thought defenseless were guarded by hidden fleets. Human dreadnoughts emerged from asteroid fields. Carriers released waves of fighters that swarmed like angry hornets. Alien ships fell one after another, their commanders shocked and confused. The Council had always fought predictable wars. But humans were different. They adapted, they improvised, they refused to die. In the Sol system itself, the greatest battle raged. Earth stood behind its defenses, the homeworld of humanity glowing like a jewel in the dark. The alien fleet that arrived expected to find a planet easy to destroy. Instead, they found fortresses in orbit, hidden weapon platforms, and fleets that stood unbroken. Captain Mitchell and Admiral Price coordinated the defense with ruthless precision, each move striking with the weight of centuries of suppressed fury. One alien battleship, larger than any Terran ship, pushed through the lines, its cannons blazing. It aimed straight for Earth, determined to shatter the human spirit. Ryan Mitchell's voice rang through the fleet. All ships, target that vessel. Give it everything. Terran dreadnoughts turned, their weapons igniting like stars. Beams of light and missiles streaked through the void. The alien giant burned under the onslaught, its hull breaking apart piece by piece until it finally exploded. In a blinding flash, the cheers of Earth's defenders shook their ships. For the first time in centuries, the Council's fleets retreated. They had come with confidence, but they left in ashes. Human warships chased them to the edge of the system, ensuring their humiliation was complete. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. The Council had tried to crush humanity, but instead they had been broken. On the bridge of the Resolute, Ryan Mitchell stood quietly, looking at the stars beyond. His crew cheered behind him, but his eyes were sharp. He knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had proven they could fight. They had shown the galaxy their strength, but the Council would not stop. They would come again, with more ships, with more fury, and perhaps with darker weapons, yet deep. Inside, Ryan felt something no alien could understand, the unshakable spirit of humanity. They had faced the galaxy's might and survived. They had faced the Council's rage and stood tall. They were not just defending Earth. They were announcing to the stars that a new force had risen. Humanity was no longer a follower in the galaxy. They were a power to be reckoned with. And soon, everyone would know it. The news of the Council's defeat spread like fire through the galaxy. Every world whispered of it. Every colony repeated it. The humans had not only defended their home, but had pushed back fleets that once ruled unchallenged. The aliens, who had always laughed at humanity's weakness, now stared at the stars with unease in hidden halls and secret meetings. Rulers asked the same question: if humans could do this with so little, what would happen when their full strength was revealed on Earth? The Terran High Command no longer hid their power. For decades, humanity had built in silence, in secret stations hidden inside asteroid belts, in shipyards buried under planetary crusts. Engineers and workers had created machines unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Now those machines were ready. Admiral Laura Price stood on the command bridge of the TNS Liberty, her eyes fixed on the endless void. Before her floated the Terran Armada, line after line of massive dreadnoughts, carriers larger than cities, destroyers and frigates weaving between them like wolves protecting their pack. The Liberty itself was a marvel. Its hull gleamed with silver alloys designed to deflect energy blasts, its cannons stretched along its sides like the claws of some ancient predator. Its engines burned with a blue fire that could outrun almost any alien vessel. Around it, the TNS Vanguard, the TNS Guardian, and dozens more giants filled the darkness with their presence. The fleet stretched so far that even light seemed to bend around it. For the first time, the galaxy would witness the true face of human power. Admiral Price's voice was steady as she addressed the gathered captains through the fleet's secure channel. For years we prepared while the Council called us weak. We built while they enslaved. We endured while they mocked. But today the Terran Armada rises. Today we show them what it means to fight a species that refuses to bow. Her words filled the comms. Each captain, each soldier, each pilot felt the weight of history pressing on their shoulders. They were not just defending Earth anymore. They were carrying the hopes of humanity into the stars. The Council tried to gather its fleets, but cracks were already forming. Worlds that once obeyed without question began to hesitate. Some colonies refused to send ships. Others whispered about joining the humans. The lie of the Council's invincibility had been shattered, and with every human victory, more doubt spread. Still, the Council sent what it could. Massive armadas of alien warships moved to block the human advance, their commanders still arrogant, still unwilling to believe the truth. The battle came at the outer rim, near the contested world of Cyronus. The Council had fortified the planet, ringed it with defenses and stationed fleets to guard it. They believed no power could take it, but the Terran Armada did not hesitate. Admiral Price gave the order, and the Liberty led the charge. The sky above Cyronus erupted in fire. Human dreadnoughts fired beams that tore through enemy shields like paper. Missiles streaked across the void, breaking apart cruisers in brilliant bursts. Carriers released endless swarms of fighters, agile and merciless, weaving through alien formations and tearing them apart. Council commanders shouted orders. Their ships tried to form tight defenses, but the humans kept breaking their lines, striking at weak points with precision and speed. Captain Ryan Mitchell, aboard the TNS Vanguard, commanded his squadron with fierce determination. Keep pressure on their flank. Don't let them regroup. We cut through here and the rest will fall. His ships obeyed, diving into the Council's lines like a spear. Explosions lit up the darkness. alien vessels fell. One after another, Ryan's voice stayed steady, guiding his men through chaos. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was clear from the start. Human ships were faster, stronger, and their tactics kept shifting. The Council fought like an old beast relying on strength, but the Terrans fought like hunters, adapting. With every move, the people of Cyrronus watched from their world below as the sky became a storm of fire. For the first time, they saw Council ships burning instead of conquering, and hope flickered in their hearts. By the time the sun of Cyrronus set, the Council fleet was broken. Wrecks floated in orbit. Survivors fled into hyperspace, and the Terran Armada stood victorious. The name Liberty became legend, the vanguard a symbol of courage, and the resolute a tale whispered in colonies across the stars. After the battle, messages poured across the galaxy, from worlds enslaved for centuries, from species who had long lost their voices. Some begged humanity for help, others offered alliances. The galaxy was shifting and humans were at the center of it. Admiral Price knew this was only the beginning. Victory brought power, but it also brought the attention of forces long hidden. Still, as she stood on the Liberty's bridge watching her fleet regroup, she felt no fear, only determination. Humanity had risen and nothing could stop them now. The victories of humanity spread across the stars like a shockwave. The Council's fleets had been broken, again and again, and the galaxy was beginning to believe the age of humans had arrived. Yet with every victory came new whispers, darker ones, not of Council fleets or angry alien leaders, but of something older, something more dangerous. Ethan Carter first heard the whispers aboard a shattered alien flagship. The ship was drifting near the edge of a nebula, its hull torn apart by Terran firepower. Boarding teams moved through the wreckage searching for survivors and data. Ethan walked through the dark corridors with his squad, the walls still glowing from fire, sparks raining from broken conduits. In the command chamber they found it, an ancient vault, untouched for centuries. The doors sealed with strange symbols no one on the team recognized. Technicians worked to force it open. Sparks flew, and with a hiss the chamber revealed its secrets. Ethan stepped inside and saw rows of data crystals glowing faintly, unlike anything the Council used. These were older, far older. Carefully he lifted one and placed it in the reader. The hologram that bloomed in the air made his blood run cold. The projection was not of the Council. It was not of their fleets or their rulers. It was something else. Towering ships black as the void. Their shapes monstrous, bristling with weapons unlike anything seen in the galaxy. And among them stood a figure cloaked in shadows. A voice spoke from the crystal, ancient and heavy. The Predator Ruler watches. The galaxy is his to claim. The Council was but his servants. The soldiers in the room fell silent. The words echoed in their ears. The Council had always seemed powerful, untouchable, yet this recording spoke of them as pawns, pieces in a larger game. Ethan clenched his fists, his mind racing. If this was true, then humanity's war had only just begun. They had not destroyed the masters. They had only shattered the puppets. When the report reached Admiral Laura Price on the Liberty, she stood in silence for a long time, staring at the projection. The shadows of the Predator Ruler filled her mind. So that is the truth, she whispered. The Council was never the power, they were only the leash. Around her the command crew exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time, they felt the chill of fear that no victory could erase. Whispers spread beyond the Terran fleets in alien taverns and hidden markets. Smugglers and wanderers told stories of sightings, black ships on the edge of the galaxy, massive shapes moving where no fleets should exist. Some said they were as large as moons. Others swore they saw weapons fire from across light years. Most dismissed them as lies, but deep inside, everyone felt the unease grow. Ryan Mitchell aboard the Vanguard could feel it too. He stood at the viewport staring into the endless dark. The wreckage of the Council battle still floated behind them, yet his mind was elsewhere. What if we've only woken something worse? He said quietly to his first officer. The man had no answer, only silence, because in his heart he wondered the same. Humanity's victories were real, their power undeniable. But the galaxy was not celebrating. It was holding its breath. The council was wounded, but something else was stirring, something ancient. Ethan Carter could feel it like a shadow moving across the stars. He studied every crystal they recovered, reading records in languages long dead, piecing together fragments of history. What he found was worse than anything he imagined. Long before the council, before the rise of most civilizations, there had been the Predator Ruler, a conqueror unlike any other. His fleets had burned galaxies. His hand had crushed species into dust. Worlds had worshipped him as a god out of fear, until one day he vanished. The council rose soon after, and many believed he was a myth. But the crystals told another truth. The council had been allowed to rule only because he had chosen to sleep. Now, with the humans breaking the order of the galaxy, he was awakening. Ethan closed the last crystal with a heavy heart, his words simple but heavy. "We thought we broke, the masters, but all we did was draw the attention of their master." Admiral Price listened quietly before finally replying. "Then we prepare. We have faced the council. Now we must face the darkness behind it." Her tone carried no fear, only determination, and her officers straightened as if her courage was their own. Still, the soldiers whispered in the corridors. Pilots spoke nervously before missions, and even the boldest captains felt unease when they looked at the stars. It was no longer just a war for freedom. It was a war for survival against something they could not yet see. The galaxy, too, was restless. Alien leaders who once cursed humanity now prayed they would stand strong. For if the Predator Ruler returned, no single species could face him. Only, humanity had shown the spirit to fight against impossible odds. Eyes turned to Earth not in anger but in desperate hope. Though no one spoke it aloud, the thought was the same. If humanity fell, then all would fall. Ethan Carter stood at the edge of the command deck, his gaze fixed on the swirling stars, his voice quiet but resolute. "We wanted freedom and we found war. We wanted truth and we found something darker. But no matter what waits in the dark, we will face it. Because we are human, and we do not bow." His words carried through the room, steady and sure, and for a moment, even with shadows growing, hope remained. It began slowly. At first only rumors, whispers carried by traders and scouts who traveled the far edges of known space. They spoke of fleets appearing in silence, of stars darkening as massive ships passed before them, black vessels that swallowed the light, unlike anything the Council or humanity had ever built. Many dismissed the tales as fear, as exaggerations, but soon the rumors became harder to ignore. Ethan Carter received the first confirmed report aboard the TNS Resolute. A Terran scout ship had returned from the edge of the Perseus expanse, its crew pale and shaken. Their recording showed a shadow moving through space. Vast ships black as obsidian, covered in sharp angles like the fangs of some predator. Their size was terrifying. Some were larger than cities, others stretched like floating fortresses across the stars. "It's him," Ethan whispered, his voice heavy. "The Predator Ruler has returned." Back on Earth, Admiral Laura Price stood before the High Command as the recording was shown. The room fell into silence. No one dared to breathe. The hologram of the Black Fleet filled the chamber, their weapons glowing faintly like red eyes, their movement precise and merciless. "So the stories were true," Price said firmly. "He has awakened," generals argued. Some demanded that humanity fortify their borders, others spoke of retreat. But Admiral Price silenced them with her calm resolve. "We cannot hide. We cannot run. If the Predator Ruler consumes the galaxy, there will be no safe place left. If the galaxy must face him, then humanity must stand at the front." While the Council cowered in fear, sending frantic messages but taking no action, humanity prepared. Shipyards across the Terran systems worked day and night. Dreadnoughts were forged in fire, carriers loaded with fighters, fleets organized under new battle doctrines. The Terran armada grew larger each day, yet even as their strength multiplied, unease grew in every heart. Could even this power stand against a being who once ruled galaxies? Ryan Mitchell aboard the TNS Vanguard felt the tension among his crew. They trained harder than ever, but he could see the worry in their eyes. Pilots strapped into fighters as if it might be their last flight. Engineers worked tirelessly, pushing machines to their limits. Ryan stood at the viewport, staring into the black. "If he wants Earth, he'll have to get through us first," he muttered, his voice low but filled with steel. His crew heard him and straightened, for in their captain's resolve they found their own courage. The first encounter came near the Orion Rift. A Terran patrol fleet stumbled into one of the Predators' vanguard formations. The battle was swift and merciless. The black ships cut through the humans with weapons no one had seen before. Beams of red energy that bent around shields, cannons that shredded armor as if it were paper. Distress calls reached Admiral Price before the fleet was lost. Their final message was clear. They don't fight like the Council, they fight like death itself. The Terran Armada assembled, thousands of ships gathering in formation, dreadnoughts lined up beside carriers, destroyers weaving between them like hunters ready to strike. Admiral Price stood tall on the Liberty, her voice broadcast to every ship. "We do not face the Council today, we face something older, darker. But remember this, we are not slaves. We are not prey. We are human, and no predator rules us, not now, not ever." Her words echoed across the fleet, filling hearts. With fire, then they came. The Predator's fleet emerged from the void like a storm, hundreds of black ships blotting out the stars. Their presence felt more like a nightmare than reality, their formation perfect, their silence unnerving. They did not send warnings or demands. They simply advanced. Admiral Price gave the command, "All ships hold the line, let them see we do not fear." The clash was unlike any battle before. Human dreadnoughts unleashed torrents of fire. Missiles streaked across the dark. Fighters swarmed like hornets, but the Predator ships absorbed the blows. Their armor twisted and reshaped, repairing itself as if alive. Their weapons struck back with brutal force. Ships exploded in bursts. Of fire, fighters were torn apart mid-flight. The void became a storm of death, yet the humans did not falter. Ryan Mitchell's vanguard led a charge straight into the enemy's flank, weaving between red blasts, striking weak points with precision. Ethan Carter coordinated strikes from the Resolute, guiding squadrons into gaps, exploiting even the smallest opportunities the Terran Armada bled. But it struck back with fury unmatched. For hours the battle raged, neither side giving way. But slowly, the humans forced the Predator's fleet to pull back, not in fear but in calculation. They retreated as one, vanishing into the void as quickly as they had arrived, leaving behind wreckage and silence. The humans had not won, but they had not lost either. They had survived, and that was victory enough. When the battle ended, the Terran Armada counted its losses, hundreds of ships gone, thousands of lives sacrificed, but the spirit of humanity burned brighter than ever. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The Predator Ruler has returned, and only humanity stood against him. Admiral Price stood on the Liberty's bridge, her uniform scorched, her eyes tired but unyielding. "This was just the beginning," she said quietly. "He is testing us, but we will not break. We will not bow." Her officers nodded. Exhausted but determined, Ethan Carter, watching the stars, felt the weight of what was coming. The Council had fallen to their knees, but humanity still stood. They had faced the Predator's return and lived to tell the tale. The galaxy now looked to Earth not with doubt, but with desperate hope. For if humans could endure this storm, then perhaps there was a chance for everyone. The galaxy had changed. After the battle near the Orion Rift, no one could deny the truth anymore. The Predator Ruler had returned. His black fleets were real. His power was unlike anything the stars had seen for thousands of years. The Council was shattered, its leaders hiding in fear, its armies broken and unwilling to fight. The only force that had stood against the darkness was humanity. And though, scarred and bloodied, they still stood tall. Every world whispered of it. From icy colonies in the outer rim to warm trade hubs near the galactic core, the story spread. Humans fought the Predator and lived. Humans challenged death itself and refused to bow. And with those stories came something the galaxy had not felt in centuries: hope. Species long enslaved by fear began to stir. Some secretly sent envoys to Earth. Others pledged their fleets to the Terran Armada. They saw humanity as the shield against the shadow, and perhaps the sword that could strike it down. Admiral Laura Price watched these changes unfold from the command deck of the Liberty. Every day more messages arrived, some from worlds begging for protection, others from leaders offering alliances. She knew humanity could not fight this war alone. And though her heart was cautious, she also knew this was the moment to unite. The galaxy, standing before her officers, her voice firm and clear, she declared, "This is no longer only our fight. This is the war of stars. And if we must lead it, then so be it." Captain Ryan Mitchell aboard the Vanguard felt the same weight. His ship had become a symbol across the fleets, and his crew, once just ordinary soldiers, were now seen as legends. Still, he never allowed them to grow arrogant. He reminded them every day that the Predator's fleets were unlike any enemy before. Their armor healed, their weapons cut through shields. But Ryan's faith in humanity never wavered. "We adapt," he told his officers. "We find new ways. We fight until the dark itself breaks before us." His calm courage gave his people strength. Meanwhile, Ethan Carter worked tirelessly gathering intelligence, leading special missions into dangerous zones. His team infiltrated wrecked Predator vessels, searching for weaknesses. He studied their movements, their strategies, always searching for patterns. What he discovered was chilling. The Predator Ruler was not simply sending fleets at random. He was testing them, probing for weakness. And with each battle, he was learning. Ethan reported this grim truth to Admiral Price. "He sees us not as an enemy, but as prey worth studying," he said, his voice hard. "We must prove we are not prey, but predators ourselves." The war spread like fire. Massive battles erupted near pulsars where gravity twisted space, near nebulae that burned with strange colors, and in asteroid fields where fighters weaved between rocks and flames. Human dreadnoughts clashed head-on with Predator warships. Their beams lighting the dark, swarms of Terran fighters cut through enemy formations. Alien allies joined the battles, their ships older but their courage strong. Together with humanity, they fought to hold back the endless tide. The Predator's forces were terrifying, their discipline unbreakable, their silence chilling. They never hailed, never spoke. They attacked with precision and retreated with purpose, yet for every world they tried to conquer, the Terran Armada was there. Admiral Price coordinated campaigns across dozens of systems, sometimes fighting on 3 fronts at once. Her strategies became legend. She used stars themselves as weapons, luring Predator ships into the pull of black holes, ambushing fleets in nebula storms, setting traps with asteroid bases rigged to explode. Humanity fought not only with strength but with cunning. Each victory came at a price. The names of lost ships were etched into the hearts of every soldier. But with each battle, survived, the legend of humanity grew. More species joined their cause, sending soldiers, engineers, and supplies. The galaxy was uniting not under the Council, but under Earth. Something no one had believed possible. One of the greatest battles took place near the twin suns of Kaliros. The Predator fleet arrived with overwhelming force, determined to crush the Terran Armada. The skies burned with endless fire. Human dreadnoughts fought back with every weapon they had. Allies fought at their side. And though the battle raged for days, the Terran Armada held the line. When the smoke cleared, the Predator had not taken the system, and the galaxy saw again that humanity could endure. For the first time, whispers spread even within the Predator's victims. "Perhaps the shadow can be broken," they said. "Perhaps he is not eternal." These whispers turned into courage, courage into action, and action into alliances that grew stronger with each day. On the Liberty's bridge, after another hard-fought victory, Admiral Price looked across the stars, her voice quiet but filled with fire. "We are no longer fighting for survival alone. We are fighting for every free world, every child who deserves a future without fear. This is the war of stars, and we will see it through." Her officers stood in silence, not because they doubted, but because her words touched them deeply. Ryan Mitchell on the Vanguard spoke to his crew, exhausted but unbroken. "We are the shield, we are the sword, we fight not just for Earth, but for all who cannot. When the galaxy speaks of this war, they will speak of us," his crew answered with cheers, their voices echoing through the ship. and Ethan Carter, standing alone in a quiet observation deck, stared into the endless black, his thoughts heavy, but his resolve firm. He watches us, he studies us, but he will learn the truth soon. Humanity does not bow, humanity does not break. Humanity rises, he whispered, and though his words were soft, they carried the weight of every battle fought, every life lost, and every victory yet to come. The War of Stars had begun. The Predator Ruler's shadow stretched across the galaxy, but humanity's fire burned brighter. The galaxy watched, waited, and hoped. For in this storm of death and darkness, it was humanity who led the way. The galaxy held its breath. Every battle had led to this moment. The Predator Ruler had unleashed his fleets across the stars, and humanity, with their allies, had fought him at every turn. Now the war was coming to its end. Intelligence gathered. By Ethan Carter revealed the location of the Predator's throne world, a world hidden at the edge of the cosmos, shrouded in darkness. It was not just a planet, but a fortress, ringed with defenses, surrounded by black fleets so large they blotted out the stars. If humanity was to end this war, they had to strike here. The Terran armada gathered like never before. Thousands of ships, dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, and fighters, allies from dozens of species joined them. Their fleets smaller and weaker but united in purpose. Every captain, every pilot knew this battle would decide not just Earth's future, but the future of the entire galaxy. Admiral Laura Price stood on the bridge of the Liberty, her gaze steady, her voice calm, though her heart carried the weight of billions. "This is it," she said, her words broadcast to every ship. "Today we face the shadow that has ruled the galaxy for ages. Today we fight not for survival alone, but for freedom, for hope, for every world that was ever chained. Today, humanity leads the charge." The fleet answered with silence first, then cheers. Then the steady hum of engines as the armada surged forward into the dark. Captain Ryan Mitchell aboard the Vanguard looked at his crew, their faces pale but determined. "We make history. Today," he told them. "Stay sharp, stay strong, and remember, if one ship falls, the fleet still fights, and if the fleet falls, humanity still stands." His words steadied them like a shield. The Predator's throne world came into view. A giant planet wrapped in black storms, its skies lit with flashes of red lightning. Orbiting it were fleets upon fleets of shadow warships, more than humanity had ever faced at once. Ethan Carter, working from the Resolute, coordinated intelligence feeds, marking enemy weak points, his voice quick but steady. "Their left flank is heavy with carriers. Focus fire there. Draw them into the gap. We can break their shield wall," he guided, fleets like pieces on a board, turning chaos into strategy. Then the battle began. The void exploded with fire. Terran dreadnoughts unleashed beams brighter than suns. Missiles streaked across the black. Fighters swarmed in clouds of fire and metal. The Predator's fleets answered with brutal silence, their red weapons ripping through the dark. Ships exploded on both sides. The galaxy itself seemed to shake under the weight of the war. The Liberty led the charge, Admiral Price calm as her ship tore through enemy lines. The Vanguard followed, diving straight into the heart of the Predator's formation. Ryan's voice steady as he shouted orders. "Cut them apart, one line at a time. Don't let them regroup." His crew obeyed with precision, every strike carving a path through the storm. Ethan coordinated the allies, rallying alien fleets to strike in unison with the Terrans. For the first time, the galaxy fought not as divided worlds, but as one force. Hours passed, and still the battle raged. Wreckage filled the void. Flames burned in silence, but the Terran armada pushed closer to the planet. The Predator Ruler himself finally appeared. His ship, larger than any dreadnought, emerged from the storms. A fortress of black steel bristling with weapons, its size dwarfing anything in sight. A wave of fear rippled through the fleet. Some ships faltered, but then Admiral Price's voice rang out, calm and commanding. "That is no god, that is our enemy, and like all enemies, he can bleed." The Liberty fired first, its main cannon tearing across the Predator's shields. The Vanguard and the Resolute followed, unleashing everything. The fleet concentrated fire on the monstrous vessel, beams and missiles striking again and again. The Predator's ship answered with fury. Blasts of red energy tore through Terran. Lines, ships shattered, fighters burned. Thousands of lives were lost in seconds, yet the Armada held the line. Not one captain retreated. Not one fleet broke formation. Ryan Mitchell pushed the Vanguard into the thickest fire, his voice steady even as his ship shook with damage. "We're not dying here, not today. Keep firing. Keep fighting." His crew answered with shouts, their weapons blazing even as flames licked their hull. Ethan Carter coordinated a desperate maneuver, sending waves of fighters to strike the Predator's weak points, hit the engines, cut off his